Recording in progress. Okay, so welcome everybody as everyone joins, and also those people that have signed up. We've had quite a big sign up for this, and I know many of you are unable to join me live, and so we'll be listening to this as a recording. So that somewhat kind of changes the format. I was hoping for some discussion, but that can happen with a few of us, or really just bringing this more into the kind of space where I speak about a certain theme and subject. So, welcome to Live Oracle. And the reason behind me doing this live oracle was purely a space where people asked me to come in and just do a little bit more teaching. And so I've tried to free up Tuesdays as a space where I can connect to you all about all things to do with soul, spirit, psycho-spirituality, the womb, sacred sexuality, Mary Magdalene, Druidism, all the things that I practice and have deep interest in, I'll be trying to bring through in these coming weeks. So really, I want this oracle to be a space for us all that lets us feel really deeply connected. This is kind of now an hour out from life, where we can touch our soul, where we can come into breath, and where we can connect to ourselves in the busyness of life, and especially in the busyness of this modern life that is suddenly becoming exceptionally challenging for all of us. Hence, another reason why I've decided to do this oracle. So I'm just going to clean the space. I'm using some sacred wood in order to just clean this energy space around me and the space between us in the liminal where we receive this transmission and the teachings. And I invite you to light a candle and just maybe cleanse your own space. I'm really feeling that this call will be a soul space, somewhere where we tune in. So just make sure that you've got kind of access to a quiet space. And I just want you to join in with me to open up the oracle. As a practicer of ritual and ceremony and an oracle, I really want to hold clean space. So together, I'm just going to ask us that we close our eyes for a moment. Just take a seat and just tune into our bodies and the space around us. And as we tune into ourselves, as we take big, deep breaths, I'm asking you to just notice, first of all, your physical body. Just notice where your body is right now. And just take a few deep sighs. Sighing is a beautiful way to just self-regulate. Sighing allows you to drop into a more centered space. And I want you to just feel your day. And I know some of you who are receiving this are at the other side of the world, so we're in a different time scale. So whatever time of day you find yourself at, if it's at the end, let the day drop away. And if it's at the beginning of the day, just begin to feel like you're setting space for the rest of the day. And I hereby open this oracle space by casting a circle around this vacuum of energy. I cast a circle around the liminal space that holds each of the participants in this space in the time frame of now and the future of all those that receive this at a different time. I cast a circle starting from the north, trailing to the east and the south and to the west and back to the north. May this sacred container be free of any spirits. May it only contain a connection to the divine, to the beloved, to Creator. And together may we create this safe space, this deep sacred circle in confidence, with a willingness of difference of opinion, an openness to learn, the right to disagree. Also a space that's able to ask questions, share experience, and open to a deeper inquiry. May the spirit of the divine support us in this. And as we imagine this space around us, if we all just begin to connect to our breath, and to the divine white light that's accessible to us all, and just begin to feel the white light flooding into our bodies right now. Feel the white light enter your breath, your lungs and your heart. Deep sighs as this breath enters you, releasing all that is dense out of the body. And just let that light come in like Godspeed. Let the light come into every nook and cranny in your body. Let you imagine it tracing into the very feet and the ankles and the legs, into the thighs and the pelvis. Let the white light chase itself around your pelvis into that sacred bowl of the body. Also, let the white light fill the chalice, fill the womb. Let it rise in the belly and come up to your rib cage and up into the chest, into the clavicle, down the arms. Let the light come into the elbows, into the forearms, and let you feel the light in your hands. Just open and close your palms 3 times. And the white light is in the neck and the head. And I'd just like you to make sure that you feel like the white light is contained within the body, it's strong in the body, it's purifying your field. And with a simple, let the white light come all around your auric field. Let the white light encapsulate you in a circle of divine white light. And may our divine white light fields join to create this sacred safe space. And may the archetype of the oracle within me open and awaken the oracle that lives within you. And then just feeling the sense of the circle and the container that we've opened. As you begin to bring your sight back to the camera, to your computer, to the real world, still anchored deeply inside the framework of the white light and the divine energy that is around us as we open this field. So welcome, and again, just thanking all of you that have joined this live and those of you that will be sharing this as a recording with me. The uptake has been really pleasing. I'm glad that this has appealed to people, and there's so much actually within our field and our world going on at the moment that I think this has been a really important calling for me to kind of set up as an oracle and a visionary and somebody who works with soul and spirit and the divine to share the kind of messages that are coming through for me and that I'm sharing with women in my groups and also individuals that I work with, but trying to get kind of a bigger energy out there that is helping people at a time that is really quite difficult, shall we say. So I wanted to just start off by discussing about the nature of being an oracle. And I don't believe like the Oracle of Delphi was seen as the one woman who could envisage the future. And I do believe there's lots of people that are out there that do that. And I used to work as a clairvoyant, but don't really kind of reside with that energy anymore. I feel that, telling people the future and what's going on is a disempowerment to them. But what I do feel is that there's many of us that hold the oracle archetype, and that means, and I think it's held by most women actually, because women by nature hold deep intuition, deep insight, and the ability to feel what's right and what's wrong. And if we're working with our own body and our own self, that attunement just gets more, more tuned in. It gets on the right frequency. And that's the kind of thing that I'm hoping to do with you all in these calls is to tune you into the oracle frequency so that you're able to be receptive to messages and to come into a deeper sense of your knowing about the things that we're facing in the world in this day and age. So that being said about the oracle, it was that as an original intention that I start to like kind of bring people into the field of the oracle and to awaken their own inner oracle, but also to work within deep themes that I am working within in my studies. And currently I am studying within the Jungian field. In fact, this week I have just finished my foundational certification for Jungian psychology, and I work as a practicing druid. I'm doing my ovate year as a druid, and I'm a practicing druid priestess, teaching other women how to priestess as a druid in the Celtic and pagan traditions and the shamanic traditions. And I'm also currently just finishing this week, which has been a big secret, my work as a celebrant. So I will be able to hold spiritual gatherings for weddings and births and all the other celebratory ceremonies that our world calls for. So in this kind of inquiring, seeking way, I want to share many of the things that are coming up. So tonight, I decided that I was going to talk about mind, body, and soul. And it may be that in these oracles that you really get some deep messages that want to be shared. And the opportunity to do that is in the chat. You'll see a chat box that you can type in at any time. I also invite you, if you want to speak, to just raise your hand, and that is kind of really open within this container as well, that you can communicate and chat. And there may be sometimes that I actually call you in to do that. So that'd be really lovely if we were actively engaged in discussion as well. So I want you to think about tonight the framework of mind, body, and soul, and how that has been kind of a triplet term that's been bandied about probably since the 60s, since we had the revolution of the 1960s. And it's a thing that has been always something that was an industry. It was, I'm learning about my mind, body, and soul at yoga, or I'm using mind, body, and soul in my, spirituality class. But what I'm really feeling as we move through this time in the collective and all that's happening in our world is that mind, body, and soul is actually going to be more important to focus on as a way of living, not something we do as a pastime, not something we do because it makes us feel better from our actual working days and our lives, but something that's going to be integral to us being able to move forward in this collective in a better mental state, in better health, and also in a way that we realize that we need to be focused on mind, body, and soul as a way of living. So I'm going to put that question to you right now. How are you actively engaging with your mind, body, and soul on a daily level? And just take a moment to think about that. And I'm going to ask you to just think, maybe in a day, How much are you in your mind? Give that a score out of 1 to 10. Give a score to how much you are attuned to your body in the day. Give that a score out of 1 to 10. And then do the same for your soul. How attuned to your soul are you in the day out of scale of 1 to 10? Now, the results of this, I think I know before I even, would send out a poll or research because this is the kind of field of work I'm in. And I know that the population is majoritively in their mind. Mind features really high in how we govern our lives. The mind is constantly thinking, the mind is really active, it has us in deep thought a lot. The mind in modern society is very overactive. Connection to the body can be, one of those things that it's either we're overly concerned about the body, i.e., in the way it looks, and we're spending lots of hours in the gym and taking care of the way it looks aesthetically. Another thing is that we may be connected to our body because we're in pain, and pain often brings us back to the body. But again, generally, the body is neglected because the mind is so overactive. Ram Dass once said that when he came to the West, that he felt like most people walking the streets were like zombies. He felt they were all in the head. There was no connection to the body. The body was dead. And that leads us to the part of soul where very rarely are we engaged with our soul. Many people are quizzing what even soul is. And the soul can be found in the body. We have to connect to the body. And if we're in a world, a collective that is mainly in its head, that's mainly thinking, that's very disconnected to its body and its soul, then we understand why we see the world as it is today. And Jung being one of my great inspirations, and his whole model that the like the majority of psychology is based on, is down to the fact that whatever's going on in the world is a manifestation of what is going on in the individuals as a whole. That our own individual experiences are creating a collective experience. And we only need to look outside of our own tiny world at the moment to understand that the world is not a great place at the moment. That the leaders, that the countries, that whatever we want to blame are not very connected to soul at the moment. So this is what I wanted to base the class on tonight because it can feel really hopeless in a world that feels like it's collapsing to be blaming others and saying, well, they're acting like this and they're doing that. And to take no personal responsibility, it makes us feel really powerless. So if I'm part of a unified field and I'm part of the collective, then I know there's something is that can be done about it. I know that I can also begin to work more in a way that is connected to my soul and my feelings. So, if you are a container of mind, body, and soul, I want you to just close your eyes and feel that for a moment. Feel these three triplets that are very important to us in this day and age: the mind, the body, and the soul. And the first step, and I know this from my years of training in somatic work, I found it really difficult when I was asked to do that. Feel the mind, feel the body, feel the soul. I could definitely hear the mind. I could definitely identify the mind. My body on that yoga mat was kind of feeling pretty numb. I'd been working all day. I disregarded it. I was in good health, so really had no pain to draw me to the body. And the question of the soul was a big question for me. What is that? I don't think I even know what that is, let alone recognize it within myself. And that question really led me on a really big journey. What is the soul? And if I'm sat here listening to my head all day, then what am I missing out on in this world in a deeper way? And actually, how do I build bridges between my mind, my body, and my soul? How do I get those three components working together? And so this is exactly what I did as you were doing now, is just began to take the inquiry. So as you breathe into your body, I want you to just feel those three. And I want you to feel the first one, which is mind at the forefront. Maybe body is second and probably soul is third. What would happen if you were breathing in and try to bring those energy frequencies of mind, body, and soul all to the forefront? What would it look like if you called your mind, your body, and your soul to work together and say, hey, you three, it's time I gave you attention equally. It's time, mind, that you did not possess me and control me and take over all my life. And I'm sorry, body, I'm sorry, soul, for neglecting you, but the mind has been so loud. But now it's time to bring you all into regulation together. Let's work as a team. And take a big deep sigh into that statement. Let's work as a team. I want you to hear the voice that I'm speaking in. I'm speaking as the other. I'm not speaking as the mind. I'm not speaking as the soul. I'm not speaking of the body. There's a voice behind that. You are talking to those three parts of you. So who is this fourth voice? Let's say that's the self. Let's say that the self now has taken out the mind, the body, and the soul and sat with them in front of the self and said, it's time I got hold of you three. And I want us to now just to feel how we bridge, first of all, the mind to the body. The biggest bridge, and the ancients knew this, was the breath. It's why I always start off every circle with take a deep breath in. Because the breath bridges our mind into our body and then into our spirit and soul and self, all of those things. So if the breath is the bridge from the mind to the body, then we can begin there. We can begin a day with conscious breathing. And that's what I'm asking us to do right now, is to just simply, in this moment, decide to daily make breath a conscious thing. That somewhere in your day you would be able to find 5 minutes and just breathe. And all of us that are, and again, I believe many of us that are struggling with mental health, being regulated at the moment in a distressing world. I mean, who would be normal and not feeling the effects of this? We'd have to be pretty unsensitive. I think breathing is number one plan that we can all do to try to soothe the system, regulate the nervous system, come back into our body, to feel safe in the body. So let's do that together. Let's just close our eyes. Breathe into our nose, taking breath through the nostrils. Feel the breath hitting the heart. And exhale back out through the nostrils. And I want you to just do that for a few minutes. You don't need to be fancy about this. Just really regulate yourself with your breath as you breathe in and out. Just try to balance the inhalation and the exhalation. Notice how that feels when you're focusing your mind on the breath. You're giving your mind a job to do. Your mind is saying, breathe in, breathe out. Let your mind notice the temperature of the air as it comes in through the nostrils. And the temperature of the air as you breathe out of the nostrils. Let your mind observe how deep that breath is. Is it shallow? i.e., is it just coming up into the top of the clavicle? Or is the breath deeper? Can you deepen it so that the rib cage opens and the belly balloons as you inhale? And what does the mind observe of the body? That the body breathes more deeply. The body begins to communicate to the mind. It says, I need more breath in, open up deeper. And the mind says to the body, balloon round the belly, lift the rib cage, bring the breath to the top of the chest. And now get your mind to tell the body, breathe 60% into the belly, breathe 30% into the rib cage, breathe 10% into the top of the clavicle. And begin to feel the mind and the body beginning to work together. Mind giving orders, body following those orders. And together they are dropping you into a deeper sense of space inside the body. Together, the inhalation and the exhalation commanded by the mind, and taken out by the body, beginning to oxygenate your system. They're beginning to take you more inward. Your mind has a job to do, it's busy. It's focused on breathe in and breathe out. Balloon the belly, lungs. Open the thoracic cavity, lungs. Take the breath to the top of the chest, lungs, and exhale, releasing the belly and the thoracic cavity and the chest. Let it fall, let it decompress. And as you breathe this way, know that the ancients echoes in your lungs, your own ancestors from long, long ago, knew the power of the breath executed in this way, the mind in command of the breath. The breath the body's response to the command. And the ancients knew that breathing practices nourished the spirit and healed spiritual and emotional wounds. Just the breath. So continue to breathe for a few more moments. And maybe make yourself a little vow that tomorrow and for the next week that you at least will try just to take 5 minutes out of your busy day to just remember the breath, to note that the mind gets a break from its 1 million roles in this modern day life. And it gets to do something that creates a sense of wellness in the body and a sense of peace. That it gives the commands for a deeper oxygenation and allows you to inhibit your body deeper. And I want you to really feel your body now. I want you to send the breath down into the toes. Into the ankles. Take the breath into the shins, the knees, thighs, the hips, pelvic bowl, breathe, buttocks, lower back, into the stomach, into the thoracic cavity, all of the spine, middle back, into the chest and the breasts, heart, clavicle, shoulders. Breathe into the shoulders. Breathe into the arms and the elbows, and the forearms and the hands, and just feel the breath really working with your body. Awakening your body. You're feeling the physical body as the breath comes in. Let the breath come into the neck, into the head. And just sense now as you breathe how you've bridged mind with body. The breath has been the bridge where the mind and the body are now in fusion together. They are working together. And just notice how that feels. The mind also gets a break from working through the veils of wounds and traumas and all the things that have happened to you and memories and all of those things that constantly flash through your mind in the day, lists of jobs to do, worries, fears, all of those things. They live within the mind. So the breath has allowed your mind a break, and the body is benefiting from that break and reveling with the authority of the mind. As it should be, a navigational coach. And I'd just like you to spend 5 minutes now just taking that breath somewhere in the body that is asking for your attention right now. So, for example, I'm dealing with a sacroiliac injury that I did this week by doing a stupid lift. And I've been sending the breath to the sacroiliac joint as a way of healing and a way of bridging a disconnection from my mind and body. So maybe something's going on for you physically, maybe something's showing itself to you now, maybe you've been disconnected to your body and you haven't really noticed, but now there's a niggle. And just let me share with you, whenever there is something going on with the body, it is the mind that has created it. The situation, our life around us. And I want you to inquire into that part of your body and ask it what it is. And as I did, my sacroiliac joint was able to share with me, I'm unstable, you pulled me, you've not been listening and tuning in. There is a lack of support. And I was able to pinpoint what all of that was. And I took a big, deep breath into it and I said, I'm here now and I'm listening. And I let my body speak. What do you need? How can I support you? What can I do to make this better? And once we've done that, once we've listened, communicated, gone inward, breathing into it, still the bridge takes us from the mind to the body. We begin to get some understanding of ourselves when we stop looking outside of ourselves for what needs to be helped inside. And the moment we get to that communication point, deep under my sacroiliac joint pain, when the bridge from my mind and body was made, I sat in the depths of that body and a bridge came from my body to my soul. And there was a deep soul yearning. I needed more stability to have more freedom. And my head would never, ever have told me that. Only my soul could whisper to me a deep yearning inside. Only the soul has the freedom. And so I ask you to make connection with this body part, to this place in your body, and let the bridge open between your body and your soul. What is the soul urging? What does the soul want and need? And oh my God, I'm communicating with my soul. And there's nothing fancy or no really big, deep, spiritual, woo-woo thing we need to do to communicate the soul. It literally is going from the mind to the body into the soul. The soul is inside, constantly trying to communicate. Usually it gets loud and makes something happen with the physical body, so it speaks to us, and even then we will bypass it. And so now you are in connection with your soul. Now the soul has a frequency and a space to be able to come through. You might notice the mind gets a little bit naughty and loud and starts to say, well, you can't do that because you've got a job. You can't do this because the dishes need doing. I want you to quieten the mind down. It's not team playing. Thank the mind for leading us to the body. Thank the body for leading us to the soul. And while we're here tonight in an oracle field, are you brave enough to listen to what the soul asks for? Just take a moment now, under the physical voice of the body that is telling you, I'm out of pain, or I'm not relaxed, or I'm stiff, or I'm sore, or I'm hurting. Go to the soul, listen to its message. We'll hold the field. And then just bring that message through. Holding space for the soul and just feeling the team within, the mind, the body, the soul, and the bridge we take from the mind to the breath, and the breath to the body to the soul. And let's hold a visionary field of how about a world where people were listening to their soul. Imagine an environment, an ecology of people attuned to soul, following, listening, being directed by that. Then the voices in their head that comes from wounds, trauma, power control, lack of love, envy, jealousy, all of those things. And so this practice leads us to become more of an oracle. Because the soul speaks and directs us and tells us certain things that can leave the mind really unstable and unsettled. I don't want to do that's going to scare me, or I don't want to do that because I've not got enough time. And in fact, this whole oracle recording came from that space, and my mind wrestled. I don't have the time. Like, who's going to tune into all of those things? And so what I did is I just followed what the soul said, regardless. And the more we practice doing what the soul says instead of the mind, the more we begin to really take a different step and become more trusting of that message. So I just wanted to share that as the beginning of this oracle live and path that we're journeying. Some of you will dip in and out of and do this later at home. And maybe opening a space where we can just share our experiences that we get each week when we've gathered here in a unified field with the intention of being more connected and an oracle in the frequency field of soul. And I'm just giving anyone who's live at the moment, I know the majority tonight are not live, but if there's anybody who's on the call and wants to just share something, then please, I will free open this space to do that. If not, then I'll move on to the next piece, but I just want to give anybody an opportunity. And if you want to share anything in the chat, that's also an open space to do that now. Okay, so I'll carry on. I just want to make sure that this hour we spend has a deep impact on you all and allows you to take away things. So your first takeaway would be to just practice daily 5 minutes. Do it on your break. Do it when you wake up. Do it before you go to bed. Just to come into the breathing. Just giving your mind some time off. Coming into breath as a practice. That will already change things for you. You'll be more tuned in. Your body will reap the benefits of that. Your mind will too. And then as a second practice on top of that is just to spend an extra few minutes in doing the body scan, using the white light, using the breath to go through your body and just being embodied, being in your body. And then if you're in your body, you will get signals from the body of things that are not quite right. So when I do that practice, I know I've currently got an injury that was, trying for me not listening to my soul. It can be an ache in the neck, it can be tingling in the hands, it could come up as any sensation that is trying to direct your attention. And you have the spiritual power to then use that bridge of breath to go from the body to the soul and to ask what this is trying to show you. And then the third takeaway is actually something that I read in this book that's called Care of the Soul, and it's by Thomas More. And Thomas More is one of those writers that has been kind of like, he's a Jungian analyst and he's a psychotherapist and a psychologist. And he's wrote some really, really great and challenging content. And there was something he said that in this book that made me realize that, humanity could be a really different place if some of these techniques were applied. And this was one of them. It says, retreat from the world. In the past, people concerned with soul often dealt with problems of the modern world, which to some degree have long been with us, by seeking out a place of retreat. Jung provides a remarkable example of a person attuned to the soul who adjusted his life not to social reality, but to his feelings of longing and restlessness. In his memoirs, he tells us how he built a stone tower as a dwelling for himself. It began as a primitive structure, and over many years it grew into something more complicated. He said he didn't have a plan. He just knew that he needed a sacred place, a place for his soul work, where he could write on the walls, write his dreams, think his thoughts, do art, enjoy his memoirs, record his visions, and do his sacred practices. This wasn't anything special that Jung built. In fact, it didn't have any electricity or any of those modern things, but it was a space that he could connect to his soul and his spirit and do his deep connecting work. The care of the soul asks us to observe its needs continually, to give them our wholehearted attention. Imagine advising someone with many signs of neglect of soul to build an annex on his house for soul work. It seems a pretty crazy thing to do or to experience. Yet it's obvious that soul is not going to be healed solely by the means of 1 hour of an interior retreat, but it's the start of connecting to the soul and a dedication and an honouring of the soul that will lead to bigger things. So I just thought that that was perfect for tonight, in honouring the fact that we do need a place to retreat to, that, you know, whether that is a pilgrimage. I like to go on pilgrimage. I love to hold pilgrimage. I've realised the importance of retreat in my work, and next year I am focusing on holding many retreats so that people can really come and make some changes. But I want you to think of your own personal retreat. How are you going to dedicate your self to give yourself soul space? And that can start right in your own home. It can be a corner of a room, it can be a whole room. You could go out and build a mud hut or a tower like Young did, but how are you going to have a little space? And maybe starting to this tomorrow will change so many things. Imagine if every human being had a soul room. And again, I always think about the bigger picture, but I think it starts with the small parts. The individual saying, I need to spend more time to listen to my soul. So I want you to think about this. How can you create a little sacred space for yourself where you meet the spiritual needs of your soul? And Thomas More shares in this book that, you know, it doesn't need to be anything that's grandiose. It can be really basic. It literally is a space that's comfortable with a candle, maybe a little, you know, a few ritual tools, like I have sacred incense. This is my soul, by the way. This is where I connect. I have my drums and my crystal harp and the things that are dear to me in connecting to soul. So I really ask you to honour that there is some kind of little corner that you carve out where you can do the practice that we've done tonight and begin to receive your own oracle. So let's just finish there by feeling into that's been discussed. Becoming attuned to our own mind and body and soul as a teamwork thing. Not the soul as a hobby, not the soul as something to do when I do spirituality. The soul is an actual living part of you in your daily day. Remembering to connect to breath, the physical body, and then the soul, and giving it space to speak. And then allowing yourself to consider a soul space. So I really hope that has helped tonight, and I really hope the oracle field of me being guided to share with you the things that are needed and the things that we need to work with are part of your, you know, day and life, and we get to meet every Tuesday to just deepen together, and these will be very different each week. They will not be the same kind of format. There may be ritual and ceremony, there may be just deep discussions. I don't know how these are going to go, but we'll curate them together as the week goes on. And I'm looking forward to hearing the feedback of all you that went live tonight. This is going to be downloadable on the link that you signed up on, and I really look forward to just sharing with you again next week. So hands on our hearts together in this unified field of white light in our sacred circle. And I ask the directions to close. I bring the direction from the west back to the south, back to the east, back to the north. And I close the sacred circle. And I ask that each individual held within this unified field hold on to their own sacred sphere of light around them as the week goes on. And that the soul gets a chance to speak. Blessings to you all.